What's up, YouTube? In this video, we're going to talk about your elbows and your wrists. And we're going to teach you how to load them and keep them all around healthy. My name's Jeff. This is Yoga Framework. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do, or at least smash the like button for that algorithm. So let's get started. And what we're going to do first is the simple wrist car. So this is from Functional Range Systems. If you've ever heard of FRC, this is part of that mobility routine. So we'll do the basic wrist car. The main thing is that you're not going to move your radius. So you're going to take a hold of the forearm and making sure that you don't move the radius. We'll go through the articulations first. Let's go into palmar flexion. I feel this is one that most people don't even understand. So you don't want to curl your fingers here. Extend the fingers and flex the palm towards you. Then dorsiflexion, pulling the back side of your hand towards you. Then there's ulnar deviation. That's the pinky side moving away. If I held my forearm up like this, that's how it would look, like a flag. And then radial deviation towards the thumb, and there's very little that you get here. So this is probably the least amount of articulation that you have. Now let's put this all together for that wrist car, which is just a controlled articular rotation. So flexion, palmar, into ulnar deviation, the pinky. Notice the palm stays forward and up, to dorsiflexion, forward, to radial deviation, up, and then palmar flexion. It's also facing towards me, but never really, well, I guess you could say this is a way. So just go in a nice big circle. Let's do this in both hands. Palmar flex, dorsiflex, ulnar deviation, radial, and then start to go in a circle. Maybe start at ulnar, down to dorsi, to radial, to palmar. And if your hand is shaking or things are happening, that's normal. Where your body is off or confused, that's where the nervous system will react. All right, let's move this into more of a loaded mobility exercise. Let's take your hands down. And coming into basic hands and knees. So from a hands and knees position, we're just spending a little time here. And then let's take them and face them away from each other. And you can move forward and back here a little bit. Just working a little ulnar radial deviation. Then let's go the full 180. All right, if you can't go all the way, that's fine. Wherever your end range is, that's where you stop. And I wouldn't be moving here. Once you're in this position, I would just stay here. If you need to move forward, that's okay. Right? You don't have to go for it. I don't like that idea. If you did have more room and you wanted to experiment, sure, you could turn them in even a little bit more. So I basically turned my wrists in a little extra, definitely at my end range of rotation, and I'm backing off. I'm not going for the stretch. This is more of a rotational load. And then I'll lightly come out of this. I'll take the hands towards each other. So I'll face forward so you can see again. So the hands are now facing towards each other. And I can move forward and back here a little bit. This is a pretty neutral or open position. And then we'll try our best, if you have room, don't worry if you don't, try to turn them in towards each other a little bit. And like I said, don't worry if you can't do this, maybe the littlest bit. It doesn't have to be a lot. You're not going for it. Staying here for a few more moments. Okay, now let's come on to the tops of the hands. Now be easy with this. Start with the hands facing in. And you can lean back to take the weight off of your hands. What'll happen is you'll lean back and the weight will kind of shift away. You'll lean forward, it'll get heavier. You might have to bend your elbows, see what it feels like. If you can't even do it, that's okay. You can build up to this. Forward. My personal favorite, away from each other. This is super weird. Go slow, be careful if this doesn't feel okay and you're not able to get there. Maybe you curl the fingers if you're there. It took me a long time to build up to this. And then the final one, facing them back. Now, most likely your elbows will be bent, but one day you'll be able to extend. I would not force that, but there is a significant difference between these two positions. Okay, so let's gently move away from this. And what we can do is we can lean back where we're sitting hips to heels, if that's comfortable. Now we'll work with some eccentric loading. I want you to lift your thumbs and the heels of the hand at the same time. Once this is lifted, you're going to slowly lower back to the floor. Now there's very little weight in it right now because you're leaning back. But let's say that we want to load it up. So we can lean back, lift the heels and the thumbs, and then slowly come forward until where we feel the tension building and then lower to the ground. Lean back, lift the thumbs and the heels of the hand, load it up, gently coming down. Let's do this a couple times. Lift, load, and let that slowly lower. Again, if this is a lot, this is showing you that your wrists can be stronger. Also that they might be a little weak, and that's okay. Flex, slowly down. This is palmar flexion. All right, I'm coming back, palmar flexion. Loading palmar flexion. That's pretty much the most powerful part of your wrist, palmar flexion. The idea of pushing down, flexing your palm down and away. All right, so let's add a couple more isometrics while we're here. So we did a little ulnar and radial, but let's change it. Let's come into this action where the ulnar side is down, the pinky side, and then we'll just lean a little bit into that. Create some tension there, and then lean away. And we can do this a few times, and just seeing how comfortable we feel loading that ulnar deviation again. So this is ulnar deviation. I'm resisting an isometric in ulnar deviation. And the last one we could do is the radial. This one's a lot, let's say it's not as safe. So what I want you to do is go slow. You're gonna turn your hand inside out because you are on the saddle joint here, the opposable thumb. So you want to make sure that you're not really jamming the thumb at all. So you can just stay in a position, something like this, where you're down and push maybe the fingers down. Not that you couldn't build power in the thumb as well. And if you felt you wanted more, right, I can push down. I'm not really pushing in the thumb though. I'm pushing in more the index. And, you know, maybe a leg goes straight, you know, something like that. I could do like a little bit of a dog. This is really intense though. It's something that you're gonna wanna build up to. You're not gonna wanna just jump into that position. Okay, let's move on to your elbows. We do a couple isometrics with your elbow. First off, you can sit however you want to start this off. We're gonna go over some rotation. Then we'll do the isometrics. What I want you to do is bend your elbow and then rotate. Now there's the ulnar and the radius in your forearm, and your radius bone is rotating right now pretty much around the ulnar. And that's how you create elbow rotation. This is it in flexion. This is it in extension. You can hold the humerus or the bicep or this tissue over here to make sure you're not rotating your shoulder. Flex, rotate a little bit, extend, rotate. You can rotate along the whole path from flexion to extension. And this is basically the elbow car. Make sure you do both sides. You can slow it down. 20-degree intervals. That's pretty much what you're looking for. Just so you can gain awareness along the whole path. All right, let's move into some flexion and extension in the elbow, some isometrics, which I love to do. You know, so everyone's like, how do you strengthen your elbow? Well, this is how. So we're gonna come onto the floor and you're gonna take your hand on one side, heel of the foot into the heel of the hand. So we're gonna place the heel of the foot onto the heel of the hand, and then I might even lift the front of the foot, the toe mound, the toes. And all I'm gonna do is keeping my elbow in extension, lift my hip, add a little weight, and then I'm gonna begin to flex just this side elbow to see if I can create a nice isometric. So I'm in full extension, and I'm now flexing the elbow. If I need more weight, I can push down harder with the foot, and this is creating a really nice isometric in end range extension. I'll squeeze for a little bit, and then I'll relax. All right, we'll do that one more time. Stepping on the foot, lifting the toes, flex the elbow, create the tension, pushing down, flexing the elbow, trying to lift the hand. Even if you lift it up, great, awesome. A few seconds here, relax. All right, make sure you do the other side. Now the other hand, you'll see I'm just putting it down here. This leg isn't doing anything. I'm taking the opposite side heel into the hand. All right, my head is down, almost like I'm setting up for bridge pose. Lift the toes or the toe mound, push, add some weight, flex the elbow. So I'm now flexing the opposite elbow while I just hold it in extension. I'll do this for like 5 more seconds. And then I'll relax, take a moment, let all the weight go. And then I'm gonna add one more. I'm flexing my elbow, even though it's gonna remain in end range extension, because I'm gonna push down, I'm gonna keep it there, I'm gonna flex. Yeah, maybe I could lift it up a little bit, but I'm not really able to power through that. And I'll just add more if I need it. Maybe 5 more seconds, push, 4, 3, 2, okay, let's come out of that. And you should feel that you were working your elbows there in end range extension. Now, we'll take a quick little flexion loading, or a isometric of elbow flexion. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take 2 fists down. You're gonna move forward and try to come over as far as you can. You can even go into a plank position. And then once you're there, you're kind of punching the floor. Elbows are in flexion, you're trying to extend. And after a few seconds, you can come down. So it's not really like a forearm plank. You're going into a forearm plank and then finding end range elbow flexion, loading that up, and then trying to extend from there, which you can because of your weight. So one more time, right? I'm more into like a forearm plank here. And then I'll go into end range elbow flexion and then push my fist down, trying to extend my elbows. Maybe 5, 4, 3, 2, and then slowly out of this. Again, I should be feeling this in my elbows. All right, so what does this all lead up to? Where are we going? We're gonna move this into a final pattern here called the dragon roll. And the dragon roll is a great move that can build up elbow and wrist power along with some shoulder. And it really leads up into these more advanced moves where you've seen people do them in inversions. But we're gonna start slow. So we'll start in hands and knees. And half the pattern, let's say, will be going from child's pose, touching your forehead or your nose to the floor between your hands, and then into hands and knees. All right, this is half of it. I can come back, touch my nose, and then back to a child's pose variation. And then just a few times, making sure I can pull this off. Head between the hands, you know, touching the chin, the nose, the forehead, something. And then the second half of this, we can start up from hands and knees, is gonna be that same touch to the floor and then into a cobra position. So you're gonna go slow here. And then lower yourself down and then push back to touch. That's the hard part. and coming back up. And you might have felt that that last part wasn't accessible, and that's okay. That's where you know you need to build strength. And what you can do is just try to do it really slow and see where you're kind of losing it and having to fall forward. So I'll come down and then forward. I'll stay higher. Hips first, and then I come down. Then I can push, palmar flex. Touch the nose, and then back up. So these two together, there are two patterns together where in the end, we're just going to eliminate that tabletop position. And that's going to create that smooth roll from child's pose all the way into cobra. And the idea is that you're staying low. That's why we're touching the nose between the hands. So say I'm into like this child's pose variation. And then what I can do is I can take my elbows down, touch my nose, maybe lift one elbow or another, and then go slow all the way into cobra, which is difficult. And then to push back, pushing to touch my nose, and then all the way to the forearms. Let's do that one more time. Shifting forward, weight to elbows, maybe lift one or two, and then touch the nose or all the way through. And then reverse, same idea. Touching the nose or all the way through. If you had power, all right, you'd be able to go back and forth. And this is a lot of elbow loading. It's a lot of movement. And it's tough. I hope you enjoyed this elbow and wrist routine. It's something you can add to your practice on a regular basis. My name's Jeff. This is Yoga Framework. Thanks for joining me.